Roxo Media House.
Yeah, good. Second day in helmets only. I think our guys are looking forward to putting on some shoulder pads on Friday. Overall, I really like the work ethic that I've seen 2 days in. I think our guys have been very businesslike. It seems like this group has a kind of a mature approach. And I think our guys understand how important every opportunity to get better is. And I thought today was a good way to start. And, I thought we executed pretty well on both sides of the ball and encouraged by our speed, and you expect the speed to show up the first couple of days of practice. And I think that you look at the back end of our defense and there's some new faces back there that those guys seem like they belong. They can all run. They're athletic and encouraged by some of the stuff I've seen from that group. And then, like the skill, we've got some inside slot type receivers that I've been really impressed with, and thought those guys are all playing well. And there's going to be a great competition for playing time at those positions, which always makes you better. So good second day overall.
Higginbotham, we put people first. So we simply start by listening to you. Whether you're searching for customized insurance, HR, or financial solutions to protect your home, car, health, business, or employees, our specialists are here to serve you, the people you care about, and your success. Higginbotham, insurance, HR, and financial services. Inspired by you.
This is Frogs Today Daily. And here's your host, the voice of the Frogs, Brian Estridge.
Wrapping up day 2 of spring practice here at TCU. This is Frogs Today Extra. I'm Brian Estridge. Thanks for joining us. And Coach Sonny Dykes, after what was a spirited practice here for day 2, focused on the offense in the interview room. In fact, we asked him early on about the offensive install under new offensive coordinator Kendall Briles. How long does that process take? How long does it take guys to become accustomed to it? And Coach Dykes told us not very long.
I think our playbook's probably a little bigger, now than it has been. It's very similar kind of approach. I think there's going to be a little bit more of an emphasis maybe on tempo now than there has been in the past. And, and I think that's a good thing. When you go back and you look at us last year, we operated at a pretty high level consistently when we went fast. And so that was one of the things that we as a staff talked about. I think that our players are comfortable doing that, and I think our quarterbacks are both comfortable doing that. They played in kind of upbeat, fast tempo offenses in high school, and they're comfortable operating in those type of situations. And so, there's always going to be some new stuff, and there's always going to be some adaptation that has to take place, and guys trying to figure out where to line up, and sometimes it looks a little ragged when you're going fast. But I thought overall that it's been good, and we'll continue to install for about 5 or 6 days, and then the installation at that point will kind of start to slow down. It'll be more about getting reps, and a lot of the things fit together. I think the players will quickly understand that it's a different play, but you're building on a base. So you kind of establish a base, and then you start to add on top of that base, and that's how you get to having all the different schemes and variety that you want to have in an offense. And so the big thing again is going to be good for us. It's going to be important for us to get to the point where we have an identity and we're good at something, and we come out of spring ball and we say, okay, these are our best 5-6 run plays, and these are our best 8 to 10 pass plays, and this is kind of what we're going to hang our hat on.
With this new offense, so under Kendall Briles, does come more responsibility for the quarterback. In this case, obviously, we talk about Chandler Morris, who had the starting job last year for the Colorado game, comes in as the number one, we think, here in the spring. And we talked about the pressure now on the quarterbacks, not necessarily outside pressure, but just mastering the offense, in charge of it on the field. Here's what Coach Dykes had to say about that.
Not really. I think it's pretty similar. I think that I think in some ways it's a little cleaner for those guys maybe, but there may be a little bit more. So, I think it's a little bit of a trade-off, but I think it's going to be similar.
Coach, talking in generality there about the play of the quarterback and the responsibility here in this offense. Let's talk specific now about Chandler Morris and what Sonny Dykes has seen through 2 practices here in the spring.
I think Chandler, justified, unjustified, whatever, probably views last year as a missed opportunity for him, going into the Colorado game as a starter and kind of getting injured and then, having to sit back and watch really for the rest of the year. So, there's a hunger, I'm sure, that he has to go out there and do everything right and make sure he doesn't have any missteps. And the big thing with Chandler, I think, is just learning not to do too much. I think that's one of the things that is great about Chandler is he wants to please, and he wants to be a guy that makes plays, and he wants to be, a major contributor to winning a ball game. He wants to go out there and do stuff that not everybody can do. And sometimes the most important job you can do as a quarterback is just do your job and not try to do too much. And I think he's trying, learning that. I think he's trying to figure that out. And I think that's a kind of a mentality, and it's just a maturation that takes place. And part of that will continue to take place as he starts ball games next year and performs. And I've been really pleased with what I've seen 2 days in. I think he's playing with confidence. I think his decision making is more, dialed in probably than it was last year, and I think his decisions are coming much more quickly than they have in the past. And so I've been impressed with what I've seen, but I think the mentality part of it's going to be, the growth that it happens as much as anything else, and just learning, hey, sometimes throwing the ball out of bounds isn't a bad thing, and so I think we just got to kind of get to that point.
Well, the good news for Chandler Morris is not going to all be on him. There's some terrific weapons offensively for the Horned Frogs. Let's start at wide receiver, and let's talk inside receivers first. Major Everhart is a name you need to become familiar with. Major's going to be a major player for this Frog offense. Coach Sonny Dykes talked about him and the other guys in that inside receiver room right here.
Yeah, I've been really pleased with Major. I think that group is really good. I mean, replacing Tate Barber and Darius Davis is not an easy thing to do. Those guys have played a lot of football, but when you sit down and you look at JoJo and Major and John Paul and Jordan, and I mean that group all of a sudden is dynamic, and there's guys that have played a lot of football. John Paul and JoJo are proven guys. They've been in successful programs, and they've made plays in big games, and then you have the 2 young guys that are both real athletic and real dynamic with Major and Jordan. So I like the room a lot. I think there's a lot of big play capabilities in the room. And I like the consistent approach so far. So I've been really pleased with what I've seen. But I think Major has taken a big step. I think that's when you run 10-3, as you said, like Major does, the worst thing that you can do is think too much. You got to have a clear mind, and you have to play 10-3. And sometimes when you're thinking, you're 10-3, but you're playing 11-3. And so he seems like he's more clear-headed and more focused and more, settled in than he was last year. And as a result, I think he's playing faster.
In addition to those wide receivers, running back, another strong suit for the Horned Frogs. Trey Sanders, transfer from Alabama, being one of those, but it's not just Trey Sanders. As a matter of fact, Coach Dykes likes what he sees out of this core group.
Yeah, it's been good so far. I mean, I like what I've seen. It's the running back things are strange, because until you tackle running backs, you never really know what you have with those guys. And it's a little bit kind of like, Max Duggan showed us last year. He was kind of that way as well. Until you had to tackle him, there were times where he looked pretty pedestrian. And then you get him in a game, and somebody's got to figure out how to get him on the ground, and it's hard to do. And so we'll see with Trey. I like what I've seen so far. Again, he's eager. His effort's been really good. There's a mature approach about him. He kind of has that professional mentality. And so I like all that, and we'll see how he continues to progress as the pads go on and as we start to have to tackle him.
That's Sonny Dykes, his thoughts after practice number 2 here. Spring ball underway for the Horned Frogs here at the Morris practice fields. We're going to be back with you on Friday when we'll hear from a couple of Horned Frog players, including quarterback Chandler Morris. He'll be able to join us this weekend. All right, we're back with you Friday and then Saturday as well as we continue nonstop coverage. Spring practice here for the Horned Frogs right here on Frogs Today Extra. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brian Estridge here in Fort Worth.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPI drinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
Roxo Media House.